Good evening, guys. Good evening. We'll just give it a few seconds to catch up as usual. And then get that shared on my page and pinned. Brilliant. Here we go. Share to the page. Good evening, guys. Welcome to Live and Undrugged Series 2, Episode 15. Thanks as always to my sponsor, Mr. James Jeffries. It's appreciated. And thanks for everybody that always tunes in, my regulars. And with that, I'd like to welcome breast cancer survivor and all-round legend, Jessica Baladad, Jess, and she's going to share a little bit about her story. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here tonight.
It's great to have you on. I should explain that Jess is all the way over in America. Where are you again?
I am in Nashville, Tennessee, just a little bit north of where they make Jack Daniels, or, you know, that's what people know it for.
Nice. So let's start by going back to the start of your story.
Yeah, so I'll go back to actually when I was 18 years old and I had just started college. I believe you all call it university, but I had just started and I was walking to class one day and I noticed that I had a pain in my right breast. And at 18 years old, I didn't think much about it. I thought maybe it was my backpack or something. But as it turned out, it was a little bit more than that. I went home that day and I went and I checked it out. I kind of did this, I just kind of felt myself. I didn't know how to properly examine it. I mean, it's just 18. And so I figured, you know, I have a lump and I feel something, it doesn't feel right. I need to go to the doctor. And so I went to the doctor on campus. She checked it out and sent me for screening. I had an ultrasound done. And then a few days later, the doctor called me while I was in class. I actually saw her number on my phone and just left immediately. I wanted to know what she said. I checked it out and went to her office, and she actually told me not to rush and that it would be okay. But hello, I had a lump in my breast, so I wanted to make sure it was okay. I get to her office and she's like, hey, I just wanted you to know that, I thought maybe it could have been a cyst. It's not a cyst. This is a solid mass. And I'm like, what? And long story short there, I was referred to my doctor back at home about an hour away in where I lived. And the doctor there took a look at everything and said, I think this is something called a fibroadenoma. And basically, it's a type of benign tumor that can occur in young women of menstruating ages. He's like, I think you're going to be okay. We're going to remove it. It is getting bigger. I can tell that it's growing and has grown for a little while now. So let's get you into surgery and we're going to remove it and just keep an eye on you. And I'm like, okay, great. Had surgery. Everything was fine. That incident got me into the habit of doing self-breast exams at 18 years old. Also, I have a history of breast cancer on my dad's side of the family. I've had my grandmother, my great-grandmother, 6 of my grandmother's sisters, 2 aunts, and I'm the 4th generation. And so before I was diagnosed, I just knew of my aunts, my grandmother, her sisters, her mom. I just only knew of 3 generations. And as far as I knew, and still up until this point, no one in our family has ever tested positive for a gene mutation for cancer. The 2 most popular are BRCA1, BRCA2. I'm negative. I'm BRCA negative. I mean, I have those genes. They're just not mutated. So it's really just a big question mark about why people in my family have gotten cancer over now 4 generations. So I'll tell you a little bit about how I got diagnosed at 33 years old. March of 2018, I was 32, turning 33, and I had a scheduled visit with my practitioner, but I actually missed that appointment and had to reschedule it. I had been in the habit of doing self breast exams, since I was 18 years old and that incident with the benign tumor. So, January, do a self exam, nothing. February 2018, do an exam, nothing. March, I skipped my self exam because I was going to see my practitioner that month. And so I skipped my self exam and I went and I saw her, and she did a clinical exam, which is a clinical exam is basically when the doctor performs the exam of your breast rather than you doing it yourself. And so she didn't say anything to me about finding anything. And she was like, all right, you're good, get dressed, you're good to go. I said, great. 2 weeks later, it's right before Easter. I'm in the shower and I thought, it is time to do my self breast exam. I think I need to, check myself out. And I thought, well, I'm probably good. I just went to the doctor, and I'm like, well, I should just do an exam because it's time. This is my routine for it. So go around my right side, everything's okay. Go around my left side to about the 2, 3 o'clock position. And I thought, oh my God, I feel a lump. I'm like, this is it. This is cancer. I said, I can't, I'm like, I know my family history. I'm just, wait, no, wait, I just went to the doctor. No, she would have totally told me about this. I'm fine. I'm in the best shape of my life. I lifted weights. I could run marathons. I was, in excellent shape. I ate pretty well, don't drink, don't smoke. I take care of myself. I'm fine. I do not, I'm good. It's probably another benign lump. I really don't want to go through doctor's appointments and surgery and stuff like that. It's fine. I'm going to ignore it. So that was April of 2018. May, June, July come around, and I'm traveling a lot for work. Everything's going really well. I'm having the best summer, just kind of traveling all over the country. And but I am noticing I'm really tired all the time. And I'm sleeping about 7, 8 hours a night, but I'm still taking naps during the day for about 2, 3 hours. I got to where I had to set an alarm for a nap because I wasn't waking up within a reasonable time. And I thought, wow, so this is what your 30s are like. This is what it's like to get old. You just want to take naps all the time. And I thought it was normal, but it wasn't. One day after a nap, I grabbed my phone. I was going through Snapchat, and I see a story of a mutual friend that me and my sister both know. And she's only a year older than I am. I met her at my sister's wedding back in the spring of 2018. And I noticed she was shaving her head. And I thought, wait, why is she shaving her head? And so I sent a text to my sister. I said, why is so-and-so shaving her head? And she's like, oh, she's getting ready to start chemotherapy for breast cancer. I'm like, what? I said, she's only a year older than me. Oh my God. Now, at this point, no one really knew I had a lump in my breast. I didn't say anything to anyone about it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to scare anyone because of the history in my family. I didn't want anyone to nag me to go to the doctor. A lot of people ask me, well, didn't your husband know about it? And the answer is it was really, really deep in my breast. It just was, So he didn't know about it either. And so I thought, I've got to get myself back to the doctor. This lump isn't going away. It doesn't feel like it's getting smaller. It doesn't feel like it's getting bigger, but I'm kind of concerned about myself. And so I made an appointment to go to the doctor. And I did tell my husband about that doctor's appointment. I said, hey, going to the doctor. I got this lump. I need to get it checked out. He's like, okay, cool. I'm sure it's just some girl thing. And I'm like, it's probably fine. And he wasn't dismissing me. He just really thought everything was going to be okay. Because, we're young, we're in shape, and we're healthy. And so go to the doctor, and the doctor in that room, she does a clinical exam and examines me, and she's just like, honey, no matter what happens, God is going to use you through this. And I live in the Bible Belt of the South, so that's a very normal thing for a doctor to tell someone, especially in the part of the world I live in. And so I'm just like, oh my God, this is bad, because no one has ever told me that at a doctor's appointment. I've had the sniffles, I've had, ear infections. No one tells you, hey, you've got the sniffles. God's going to use you through this, so it's going to be okay no matter what. And, it's pretty serious when the doctor says that. And so the doctor left. The nurse came in and scheduled a mammogram for me. And I looked at the nurse and I said, well, what did the doctor say? And the nurse is like, I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. And I'm like, excuse me? I said, well, can you go ask her, or can you go look at her notes or something? And she's like, fine. And she like scoffs, rolls her eyes at me, and leaves. So I'm just like, I do not deserve to be treated like this. This is unprofessional. I'm owed an explanation here. And so the nurse comes back in the room, and she tells me just 3 words: firm, smooth, and dense. I said, that's it? Is that indicative of cancer or anything? And she's like, I don't know. And she's just like, I need your information for your mammogram. And I was just like, I cannot believe I'm being treated like this. No one deserves to be treated like this at the doctor. And so, she scheduled my mammogram right there in the room. I said, well, I have questions for the doctor. Can you go get her for me? And the nurse is like, well, she's really busy right now. I said, well, I'll wait. I have questions. This is my health. And so the nurse left, and I sat in that room for about an hour and a half waiting to talk to the doctor. And going back and looking at that now, I realized that I think the doctor was afraid to tell me. I don't think she wanted to talk to me about it. And I think the doctor was really scared. So after, within that 90 minutes, I could hear a microwave, I could smell food, I could hear people talking in the hallway. And I mean, I'm sure nurses and doctors are very, very busy. And so I just kept my cool and I patiently waited. And the doctor eventually came into the room, and I talked to her. I'm like, look, is this cancer? Do I have cancer? And she looked at me and she's like, I just know that this is a lump, and tests are going to confirm, what it is. And then in that moment, she's like, can I pray for you? And I'm like, yeah. And again, I've never had a doctor want to pray over me. So I went ahead and, I let her. I was good with that. I'm a spiritual person. I'm a Christian. And I thought, okay, this is really bad. And so I was in tears. She was in tears. And, I left that day knowing that I was probably facing cancer, and I didn't say anything to anyone because I didn't want them to be scared, and I didn't want anyone to worry, because I thought, we're not going to know until we know. So a couple days later, I went to my mammogram appointment, and I was shaking, and they had a hard time getting images of me because all I kept thinking about is my husband and my family. And so they were able to get imaging, and immediately afterward, the technician who did the ultrasound said, did the mammogram, said, hey, we need you to come into the ultrasound room. We need to get another look. And I'm like, okay. So I lay down, and the technician in that room examines me, goes over everything. She says, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get the doctor. And I'm like, oh, great. VIP, I get to meet the doctor. I'm not going to get a letter that says, thank you for getting your mammogram, come back, when your doctor wants you to. So the radiologist, the doctor, comes into the room and he's going over the lump in my breast with the technician. And then he moves up into my upper arm area and he says, wait, stop, get that lymph node, that big one. And I sat up immediately. I said, lymph node. And that confirmed it for me. And he's like, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I've seen this before. I'm pretty sure it's cancer. Can you be at my hospital tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to do your biopsy. We need to get this looked at immediately. I was by myself. And so the doctor, realizing that I was an emotional mess, he brings like his technician and a nurse in the room, and they're helping me. I said, look, I need help calling my family. And so everybody was at work, and I called my husband. I said, hey, meet me at my dad's house, big family meeting, just meet me there. Called my dad, called my mom. My mom lived in a different state. And when I told her, she was already like, she's like, I'm making plans to fly down to come see you immediately. And so I called my dad and everybody. I called a few close friends, and we all met at my dad's house. And I said, okay, I have something to tell you all. It's just better if I tell you all like this at one time. Let me tell you what just happened and how I got here. And, I told them I had a lump in my breast and it was very likely breast cancer. And so the next day, everybody came with me to the biopsy appointment. Like, I had been alone so much in this part of my journey at that point. Nobody left me alone after the fact. I had no personal space or anything. So I can laugh about it now, thinking about the juxtaposition of being alone and then nobody leaving me alone and being all up in my business, which it was fine. So I know they were just concerned and, trying to show their love and support for me. And then, I had the biopsy, and I told the doctor that morning when he did it, I said, if there's anything you can do to expedite these results, I can pay for it. I'll just pay for it right away. And he's like, I understand your concern. He's like, but it's Friday and our lab isn't open on the weekends. But as soon as I know something, I'll let you know. He was actually able to call me the following Monday. It was a Monday afternoon. And I remember being at home with my husband, and my mom was staying with me. And I told them that day, I said, look, the doctor's probably going to call me today. So if you see me, run away, please give me some privacy to take that. And I'm like, don't follow me. I'm going to go to another part of the house. Just don't follow me and give me some space. My phone rang. I ran upstairs. It was the doctor. And he's like, look, I told you before that I thought this was cancer. Test confirmed that you do have breast cancer. And I said, thank you for letting me know. Now I know what I need to do next. I ran into my bedroom closet, and when I came out, there's my mom and my husband standing there. Like, I'm like, so I guess and they're both like upset and everything. And I'm just like, oh, I'm trying to deal with my emotions, and then I'm trying to deal with the emotions of other people, and, it's like, I go to my friends, hey, I got to tell you something. I have cancer. And then they get all upset. And, oh my God, are you going to die? What's next? What's going to happen? And, they're hysterical. And then I'm like, so I heard you just found out someone you care about has cancer. What can I do for you? So it's just like role reversal a little bit. And because I needed them for me, but then they needed me for them to calm them down. And it's just kind of funny going back and looking at it. So what I did from that point forward is that I found my biggest supporter, I'll say that, the one who likes to talk the most. And I told her name is Brandy, and she's the best. She's so awesome. I told Brandy everything. I said, Brandy, I'll tell you and my immediate family everything I know as I know it, but I'm going to need you to tell broader circles of friends because telling this story over and over right now is wrecking me. And I just kind of need to focus on what's next for, treatment. Um, Within no time, I got to see my oncologist, and this is a family oncologist. He has treated my grandmother and my aunt, one of my aunts, one of my dad's sisters. So we kind of have a family oncologist. And on the day he saw me, his office wasn't even open. But when I told him I was the niece of my aunt, he like cleared everything out and said, I want to see you right away. And I just remember that day I had so many vials of blood taken, and I just felt like I was surrendering my body to the medical field. Like, it's just like taking blood, doing this. And I was just going through the motions, filling out all this paperwork about my health. And I was going through the paperwork and I'm looking at it, just asking me about my lifestyle. And I'm like, I work out, 5 times a week. And I'm getting angry because I'm sitting here like, how do I have cancer? Like, I'm looking at like my lifestyle on here and nothing's making sense to me. And I'm just getting really upset and I'm having a lot of feelings. I'm kind of feeling my feelings come up right now as I talk about that part of it. But I'm like, how did I get cancer? And it's really just a big question mark. And when it comes down to that answer, it's just cells divide and cells proliferate. And my cancer, there's something called a P53 gene that controls all of that. And when that gene is not good or bad or mutated, it doesn't, it creates cancer. So it just comes down to bad cells, bad genes. And yeah, so I didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing I ate. It's not because of a vaccine or anything like that, because a lot of people in my life also came at me and said, maybe if you wouldn't have done this, or maybe if you wouldn't have done that, or maybe you're just not right with God, or just a lot of shame-based approaches. And what I learned about that is like, they needed an answer for their anxiety. They couldn't face the reality of my mortality, because, here we are in our early 30s and my friends are struggling with someone they know who could potentially die of this. But I'm a fighter and I go hard or go home. And so when I was presented with a treatment plan, I went through 16 rounds of chemotherapy. In the middle of chemotherapy, I was, I had no hair. My nails were destroyed. My skin was just not in great shape. I had rashes. I had acne. I looked horrible. I wasn't feminine. I told my husband that he could cheat on me because this is not what he married. This is not what he wanted. I'm like, you didn't ask for this. And he looked at me and he's like, you're crazy. I'm not going to cheat on you. And he's like, we're in this for the long run. And so like, he's like, just don't even say that stuff. Don't even talk about that. And yeah, I felt kind of silly afterwards. So that was my door shutting. So I went through 16 rounds of chemotherapy. I then had a double mastectomy. Both breasts were removed. They also took out 5 lymph nodes, at least 5 lymph nodes. I know it was a cluster. They were in a cluster, which is not a good sign. So I said, look, if it looks bad, yank it all out. So they did. Right after that, I took a break from just a little bit of a break for about maybe 6 weeks. And then it was recommended to me to do radiation. Even though I didn't have any physical signs of cancer, radiation kind of goes through and sweeps the floor. Sort of like when you've cleaned your house, you sweep your floor to get all the dust that may have fallen while you were cleaning. This is like sweeping the floor of any cancer cells. And I did 24 rounds of that. I did radiation every day for basically 5 weeks, Monday through Friday. And I didn't want to. My skin was burning, it was peeling. I was getting tired. If you've ever had a sunburn and been out in the sun and you're really tired afterwards and you just want to sleep, that's what it felt like every single day. And then it's cumulative. So, I'm falling asleep on the way home. This is after chemo, after surgery and everything. One of the hard parts about radiation was that I had to lay in a certain position and let the little laser beams like beam me in the right spots. It's a very precise machine. If I moved, it would shut off. Sometimes at the very beginning, we had to start over, but it was very hard for me to get my arms adjusted in the right way because I just had surgery, and it just movement and mobility was really affecting me on my left side. But I had to like pull through and stick with it because I knew this was my life on the line here. So I did, chemo, double mastectomy, radiation. And then after that, I was declared uh, I like to use the term redeemed from cancer, because when you say in remission, it sounds like permission, as if it might come back, like you're giving yourself permission to live. So I was declared redeemed from breast cancer on May 3rd, 2019. And I celebrated, and it was a very happy time for me and my family. But the fight wasn't over yet. I had to start on a pill form of chemotherapy to keep cancer out of my body. And I'm still on that pill form to this day, and will be for at least another couple of years or so. There's a lot of that goes into that. But then several months later, I told my oncologist, I'm like, I need a break from hospitals. I just need to live my life for a little while, because he wanted me to go ahead and go into having a hysterectomy. And I was like, can we wait? And I'm like, he emphasized how important it would be to remove the organs, my ovaries and everything that were creating hormones that could produce future cancers. And I knew that was something I wanted to do. I'm like, yo, hang on, let's chill for a little while. Can I have some life back? Like, I want to travel and do some stuff. And he's like, okay, yeah. So fast forward to February 2020. 2020 is such a big year. Oh man. So February 2020, I had my hysterectomy then. I had almost a year since being redeemed from breast cancer. We had a serious talk with a few doctors about me and my husband. We didn't have kids. We were okay with not having children. We love being the cool aunt and uncle to our nieces and nephews. Totally fine with that. And we have 2 cats that keep us on our toes also. So we were okay. I had the surgery. During that recovery period, COVID happened. And man, I won't get it. I don't even have to get into that. It was hard for everybody. I was supposed to have my reconstruction surgery that summer. And my reconstruction surgery would have been something called DIEP, DIEP, deep flap reconstruction. And a flap reconstruction is where they take any part of your body and use the skin and blood vessels from it, and they place it in another part of your body to recreate it. In my case, they were going to take my stomach, not my abdomen, but like the fat tissue, blood vessels in my stomach, and transplant it into my chest to recreate my body. So I went from being essentially a double amputee from breast cancer to a double transplant recipient of my own tissues. So the first surgery was a 10-hour surgery, and I did 4 days in the ICU at a hospital here. The thing was, during COVID, that all got put on hold. So I'm now living in a body with no breasts. My hair is very short. I'm not feeling feminine. I'm not feeling like myself. I'm feeling trapped in this body that's reminding me of how sick I was. And I'm trying to move forward in my life. And it was very, very difficult for me emotionally and just psychologically altogether. But, I stuck through it. There were options for, doing, implants, and that's just not something I wanted to do. And I wanted to wait it out. I wanted to have the flap reconstruction. So finally, February 2021, I was able to have that. I had my second surgery to that in October of 2021. The second surgery was basically, the first one is to make sure everything works, and the second one is to make everything look good. And it's covered by insurance here. There are laws that protect women that allow them these options for insurance to cover it. And so that's what I went with. And now, I'm back to working out in the gym, 5 days a week, eating well, taking care of myself, and doing everything I can to keep cancer out of my body. And I'm a huge advocate for women and women's health in general. While I was going through chemotherapy, and I came out to my friends and I told them about how I was diagnosed with cancer. I told them, well, it all started with doing a self breast exam. So y'all are doing your self breast exams also, right? And it was just crickets. And I'm like, wait. And I was getting messages like, no, what's that? I'm like, wait, you all don't know what self breast exams are? And they're like, well, I've kind of heard of them, and maybe I've seen something about it. And I'm like, okay, I've got to do something about this. So I created a social media project called Feel for Your Life. And I generated a little bit of support, from friends and people a little bit all over. And I was telling them about my journey, self breast exams, how to advocate for their health, their breast health, especially how to get mammograms, ultrasounds, all kinds of screenings, how to talk to your doctor about genetic testing. And I thought, I love what I'm doing here, but I want to take it a step further and create something bigger and to reach more women. So during the pandemic, while all of my friends were baking bread and collecting plants and, learning new things, I thought, I'm going to learn how to create an app. I'm going to create an app, and I'm going to show women how to do self-breast exams, how to track and monitor their progress. I'm going to be like a one-stop place for women to advocate for their breast health. So I learned how to create an app, and I put all of this information in it. And by August of 2021, I submitted it to the App Store and the Google Play Store, and became the first breast cancer patient to create an app to show women how to do self-exams, how to get screened, how to set reminders so that they can do screenings, get mammograms, how to get tested genetically. And it's absolutely free. This is a passion project of mine. I know self-exams saved my life. I know they can save lives. I know that getting screenings and talking to your doctor and knowing how to advocate for yourself, these are all life-saving measures that women can take for their health. And I think back to the way that nurse talked to me at my initial appointment to get my my breast examined, and I didn't want anyone else to experience that either. So I wanted to equip women with the right tools and resources to stand up to what's referred to as medical gaslighting, when someone wants to undermine your experience or shame you for your experience because they don't want to, just because they're uncomfortable with that reality, it doesn't mean it's a reflection of reality. So I created the Feel for Your Life app. It is in the Google Play and the Apple Store. And like I said, it's absolutely free. I don't even run ads on it because I'm so passionate about this. And so I've kind of turned my story from something, where I was, sick and ill and just a shell of myself, to how I empowered myself through my journey. And I want other women to be able to do that as well. That was a mouthful. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Such a lot. cancer is so prevalent in my life at the minute. I've got several friends at church with brain tumors, and I've got two friends, sorry, and I've got a dear friend who helps run some of the groups that I'm on, that is in the final stages of cancer that's spread, and we're going to lose her. And you know, I've fought it, my wife's fought it. It's such, I lost my mum to it in 2016, and it's been such a force. You sharing your story, I just became a little overwhelmed. I sometimes think that I should change the name of this show to Crying with Guests, because I seem to you know, cry a lot, but such an amazing story of you know, courage that came through, you know, courage. I'm a Christian man, born again.
Awesome.
Through a life-changing hospital, over a month in hospital, but I found Jesus at the end of my bed, and he changed my heart. But
That's awesome.
what you were saying about your you know, being in the Bible Belt, and it being, you know, common practice for your doctors to offer to pray with you and pray with patients. I've known doctors here get the sack for that.
Wow. Oh,
You can't do that in our hospitals. You can wear a cross, but you can't show it. You're not allowed to talk about your faith, really. So it's such a juxtaposition. It's, you know, it's so different, because I remember being in hospital when I was having my, you know, I died and they brought me back, and I had a full-on psychological breakdown. And there was this one doctor, a young Asian doctor, that would come in, and I remember vividly that she wore this cross, and when she was in there, she would let me, you know, I would look at the cross, and then when somebody else would come in, she'd hide it. You know, I had the lead, the lead pastor from our church who came to pray with me, because they actually came to pray for my soul, because they thought they were going to lose me again. And God is not something that you find in our hospitals. You know, what used to be chapels are now multicultural centres. And I'm all for that. That's, you know. But the whole thing about doctors being able to, you know, pray with patients, that amazes me. That absolutely amazes me. I'm part of a church that believes in the, you know, healing of prayer. With prayer, we have I'm part of the prayer ministry team, and you know, I'm an avid prayer, and we've got street teams that go out, and you know, we run a school called the School of Supernatural Life, which is run. It was the idea came from one of your churches in California, Bethel, in Reading. And it's about leading a life that is naturally supernatural and supernaturally natural, and using your gifts, and praying for people and praying into we're commanding healing and stuff like that. And we've got many doctors in our church that come and be part of that. But the whole thing about, being able to pray, we would love that, to be able to pray with patients. And I know, I know doctors that would love it. And that has just amazed me that you went through that. I really related to how you felt on treatment and things like that. I've battled lymphoma, and I know the difficulties of different combinations of therapy, and I was on ABVD, and while living on the street.
Wow.
So the thing is, our NHS at the point of entry is free. So that must have been another weight on your shoulders,
Yeah, there's the financial burden as well. And something I'm doing in the future is I'm gonna create something. I'm working on it right now. It won't be launched for several months, but I've created a method to show women how to advocate for their breast health, starting with being preventative and going through, and how to negotiate medical bills, how to pick out insurance, how to make the best choices for your insurance. It's a really overwhelming thing here. A lot of people, get insurance through their employers. And, we do have a healthcare exchange that was created, less than 10 years ago. So it's still basically in its infancy, and all kinds of issues and problems surround that. And so, it's people who even have insurance don't even know how to use it, and they don't even know what they're covered for and what it means. I'm not saying everybody's like that. There are a lot of people who do understand their insurance. When I got thrown into everything, insurance was just something I had at that time at 33 years old, was just, oh, if I'm in a bad car accident or a catastrophic accident or something, I guess I have insurance, because I didn't really get sick aside from an occasional cold. I was not expecting cancer in my early 30s, but being thrown into it and realizing right away that it was a game, and how to play the game and how to navigate it, and how to actually, this is a whole separate story, how I got a hospital to pay me back about $2,500 to $3,500 because of some tips, tricks, and it is so messed up. But I learned how to play the game, and I'm going to teach other people how it works. So yeah, that's a whole other story in and of itself. I will say that, I don't know how it goes for you. Having private insurance did allow me to get into doctors faster and more efficiently. And I feel like I was able to be seen so quickly because I had private insurance. I know that there are government insurance programs here that a lot of places won't even take. They don't want to take it because they don't want to deal with the government. And so they just refuse to take those types of insurances. Even the ones on the universal healthcare exchange, a lot of providers are like, yeah, it's a pain in the butt to deal with those. We don't want to take those, So even though it's offered, not all medical providers they're not required to take them. So I understand both sides of it. You have one entity wanting to offer it to everybody, and you have another who's struggling to accept those private or that insurance, because it's hard to get the government to pay that out to them. So it goes back and forth, and it's just, I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. I just learned how to play the game and get around it. Yeah.
We do have the option of going private. It's very expensive.
Oh yeah.
Our National Health Service, it's broken. It needs a lot of reform. Some would say it's not fit for purpose, but it's all that a lot of people have got. The NHS have seriously let down some people close to me, especially our friend Anne that we said earlier. From diagnosis to end of life care, it's been very, very quick. And because of COVID, because of the way that our government structured itself during COVID, because of lockdown upon lockdown, our doctors are really hard to get into. Dentist appointments are nigh and impossible to get. Hospital appointments are really difficult to get. Waiting times for ambulances are absolutely ridiculous. On Saturday, I was out with my children and we found a woman unconscious. And I had to call an ambulance, and I had to wait for 90 minutes while an ambulance came with her. So it's quite broken at the minute. And I really don't know what we're going to do, whether it's all going to go private. Our government have been trying to sell it off for years, bit by bit. Started with the cleaning services and then the catering services. We're selling it off chunk by chunk. And I know a lot of people here, I for one wouldn't be able to get insurance were there to bring in a universal insurance, because of my past and because of present health problems and things like that. So I do think that America has it really quite difficult. But then again, I think that you may get slightly better care because you are paying for it.
I can see both sides of it. And like I said, I don't have the answer to what the best solution is. But I have seen how things are overcharged in healthcare systems. And I do take issue with CEOs of hospitals and insurance companies making, tens of millions of dollars in salaries and flying in private jets and all over the country for different reasons, business or not. When I see what money goes towards, that's where I take the most issue with it. I know it's a very broken system, and the best way is, recognize that it's messed up and realize what choices you have. Look at what you can control and what you can't control, and formulate a plan around that. Something, that I say is, we have, deductibles and out-of-pocket costs. Know what that's going to cost you, every year, and plan for it financially. Keep that set aside. And everything's negotiable, especially if you're like, I can pay it in cash. So if you have that saved up, whatever your deductible or out-of-pocket cost may be, and you go in and like, I can pay this right now. Can you give me a discount on it? And they're like, yeah, like it's no big deal. I'm like, so wait, if you're able to discount this, why didn't you even offer me that at the beginning? Like, why do I have to ask for it? So it's pretty messed up. And but I figured out how to play the game.
Yeah, I think it's really sad that you have to play a game though.
It is. It's really sad because on top of everything that you're going off of with your health, you know, now you're playing mind games and exerting yourself and your energy, whatever energy and whatever emotional, you know, baggage that you have to putting in to having to figure out how am I going to pay for this? And do I start a GoFundMe or do I use another crowdsourcing method or do I start baking cookies and selling them or selling t-shirts or something? It's not it's a broken system and it can be pretty harsh too.
So what's your aftercare like?
Aftercare, that's a great question. So I am on a chemo pill that helps keep cancer out of my body. And I've been on it since 2019. This fall, my oncologist and I, he's going to run some tests on me. And well, I have blood work every 3 months right now, but for my blood work in the fall, he's going to look at whether or not this chemotherapy pill I'm on is going to work for another X number of years. And if it will, I will stay on it. And if it won't, he'll take me off of it. And then I hope I get to stay on it because it's giving me peace of mind. Even though the side effects can be kind of brutal. Lots of hot flashes. I'll just name that one. I'll spare the details on some of the others, but you know, any woman who's been in menopause or knows what that might be like, all of that comes with it. So the hot flashes, like I will wake up soaking in sweat. We have to wash and change out our sheets all the time, me and my husband. I often think like something's really wrong with me when I wake up sweating as much as I do, but really it's kind of a good thing because it means cancer's staying out of my body because I'm not producing estrogen. That's why I was sweating so much. We do keep our bedroom. We have an AC unit that we keep just in our bedroom. We shut the door, turn the fan on, and it turns it into an ice box for me in the summer. It's pretty great. My poor husband, he he struggles, but you know, we work it out and whatnot. I used to be cold all the time. It's really funny how it's switched. I'm hot all the time now, but I work out 5 days a week. I try to eat the right foods and, you know, just taking care of my body like I did before and just building my strength. And I was listening to an oncologist at a speaking event once, and he was talking about the studies between exercise and keeping cancer out of your body. And he said that he said, I would dare to say that 30 minutes of exercise a day is about equivalent to doing 1 round of chemo. And I thought, wow, that's pretty awesome. So I work out every day. Well, I have a rest day, but I work out about 5 days a week, sometimes 6. But that's what it's kind of looking like so far. You know, I check in with each my breast surgeon, my oncologist, you know, throughout the year. I will say that recently, a couple months ago, I was doing a self breast exam, and because I do self breast exams, and I found another lump in my breast, and it was terrifying. And because here I'm like, wait, I've been here before, and so, but I knew what to do. I knew that I didn't have it before. I kept track of this in the Feel for Your Life app, and I went back and I looked at my notes that I keep in the app. I'm like, well, I didn't have it then. I didn't have it then. This is new. So you know, I documented it, made an appointment with my oncologist immediately. Well, I actually I'm like, who do I see? My oncologist, my breast surgeon, or my reconstruction surgeon? And I had to think about that for a minute. But when I realized to call my oncologist first, I went and saw him. He sent me for screenings. it's just a benign occurrence that they're going to keep an eye on. So nothing to worry about. It's very symmetrical. It's pretty small. So we're keeping an eye on it, and yeah, it's just I'm kind of Forrest Gumping my way through survivorship right now. I don't have all the answers, but I'm figuring them out as I go along.
Mm.
And I just try to, stay positive and remember that I'm trying to use my story to empower other women. I would rather take on the fear of everything first and go through it and share my story, so that when another woman goes through it, she knows that she can send me a message. I get messages like every week from women like, hey, I found a lump in my breast. What do I do? I said, well, I'm not a doctor, but I will talk you through the anxiety and tell me what you're feeling, but let's get you to a doctor and let's figure out how, to address that. I mean, all over the world, women are talking to me about self-breast exams, finding lumps in their breast. And so far, I mean, over the past 3-4 years now, I've had one woman who's done a self-exam and it turned out to be cancer. She was in her mid-40s. And so, but I mean, I get every week, I get women who reach out. So generally speaking, from what I've been told and what I've read, breast lumps are very common, and it's okay to be scared when you find one, but it's really good to know what your normal is for your breast. Go to the doctor, talk to your doctor about what's normal, what's my body supposed to feel like. This goes for men and women. I'm actually in my state in Tennessee, I'm proposing, I sent an email to my state representative and I said, I'm a breast cancer survivor. I want to do something that would encourage and require students at younger ages to learn about self-exams. And so he met with me and we created what's called the Feel for Your Life Act. And it's just written as a bill right now. It's not a law yet, but what we want to do is to encourage high school students to learn how to do self-breast exams, testicular exams, and skin exams, and to know what their normal is and to know about their bodies. Teenagers are very aware of their bodies at their ages as teenagers. What we want them to do is to be equipped into adulthood to take care of themselves and to take care of their bodies. So I'm really excited about what's going to happen with that over the next year.
I'm really happy to hear that as a, as a husband and as a father to several daughters, a couple of them are teenage, so they're at that age. I feel that they have things like PSHE in school and things like that, but I don't think that they always talk about things like this. When I think there should be a level. You said the word survivalship. My personal philosophy is that there are 3 levels, and the first level is we become the victims of our circumstance. We're the victim. Then we become the survivor of the event or events and traumas that surround that. And most people, some people only have a state of victim. Other people become survivor and only ever stay in survival. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that there is another level, and that is thriver. And that is what I believe you are at now. We are part of the Survivor Network. But you're a thriver. You're thriving in what you're doing. You're thriving in educating people, educating women. And I tip my hat to you, because I think it's absolutely amazing what you're doing. I wish there was more people like you doing that, and I will always seek out people like you doing that, because I think it's important. It's important to educate. I think when we've been through certain things in our life, it's important for us to become educators, which is why I do what I do for my side. I would like to ask you, I'm going to I will link the app in the description for you. What can you run for the women watching? You know, can you run me through the ABCs of what you do to check yourself as a woman?
Yeah. So the best thing that you can do, that I think you can do, is first download the Feel for Your Life app in the App Store or the Google Play Store. It is available in 176 countries now. Download that. If you go into the app and look under the resources, you're going to see instructions from the National Breast Cancer Foundation. I partner with them, and they tell you that there are 3 ways to do a self-exam. You can do it laying down, in the shower, or in the bed. You don't have to do all 3 of them at this, well, not at the same time, but in one session. But pick a method that you're most comfortable with. And really, as far as how frequently to do it, when I did self breast exams before cancer, I waited until after my menstrual cycle. The best time to do it is really when your doctor wants you to, and as frequently as your doctor wants you to. So really, after you download the app and you explore the resources, make an appointment with your doctor. Talk to your doctor like, hey, I want to start doing this. I want to get into a routine of getting screened. I want to talk to you about my genetic history and my family history of cancer. Even if there's no breast cancer, if there's prostate cancer that's hormonally driven, your doctor will want to know, all of that information. So download the app, look through the resources, make an appointment with your doctor, and get on a specific plan with your physician to go through and know how often he or she wants you to do self-exams. And he may even, get into a screening routine if they feel that it's necessary for you, and talk about your genetics. And then you can use the app to set reminders for your appointments and for your self-exams. Yeah.
Brilliant. I also think that it's important for guys as well.
That is something I'm wanting to expand on in the future. I started with women, and Feel for Your Life for breast exams. That's just where I came from. And part of my story, I've had people approach me about doing a male version of the app. I'm still exploring that, what that might be and what that might look like. I'm going to see how this bill passes and how much awareness is brought around it as well. I know with guys' health, I don't want to generalize, and I don't want to stereotype, and I don't want to discourage. I have to assess the usability. One thing I thought about was like, do guys want an app like this on their phone? Like, do they want their friends seeing something like this? And it's not discouraging me from doing anything. It's just something that I'm thinking about. And, I want to talk to professionals in the field about, how often should a guy, perform a testicular exam, or, any sort of exam that would be pertinent to their health. It's something I need to educate myself on around more before moving forward. But it's definitely something that's on my mind.
Yeah. I do want to say, guys watching, there's a toxicity around some, around men and how men think and how they act. There's a toxicity about how men feel they should be and how they should act. We are blessed to live in a time where we are now able to explore men's mental health issues. But on a personal note, guys, please check your balls.
Absolutely. Yep.
please, because it's important. You know,
Mhm.
it's easy. You know your body. And if you're embarrassed about doing it, get your wife to do it, get your girlfriend to do it, get your boyfriend to do it. Just, get it checked, because I think it's important for every guy to be health conscious on that side. We live in a time now where cancer is more prevalent than pretty much anything.
It's reaching younger and younger ages. What I was told, and everybody check with your doctor on this because I am not a medical professional. That's why I have to cite medical
Mhm.
sources within my app. I'm an advocate, but from what I was told, my youngest aunt was diagnosed at 37, 38. I'm 37 now. So she was diagnosed at my age now. I should have started getting screenings at 27. It's 10 years from the last person diagnosed. But I didn't, no one would have taken me seriously at 27 years old. But if you search the hashtag breast cancer on Instagram, you're not going to find older women. You're going to find women my age, younger than me. I know women in their 20s. There's a documentary being recorded on a girl, a woman, an 18-year-old with breast cancer right now, whose story they're wanting to tell. Cancer, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't have an answer for why it's happening, but I'm just going to say it's happening, and we need to recognize it and take care of ourselves. Because for some people, it's not a matter of if, but when. But it's good to just have an overall awareness of our bodies and our health, and take proactive steps that will serve us well into our future, so that we're healthy, we feel good, and that we can live long, healthy lives.
So, as Christians and as a church, what can we do better to help support, do you think?
I would appreciate having my app shared with other women, other people. If you have a sister, a cousin, a mother, a, a female in your life that you care about, women all the time, they talk about their menstrual cycles, but check in with your friends and your loved ones. Like, hey, are you doing your self breast exams? Or, hey, when's the last time you've been to the doctor for an appointment? Are you doing okay? I think just checking, and that actually goes for both genders. Check in with someone you care about. Like, hey, I want you to know that I love you and I care about you. Are you doing okay? Are you taking care of yourself? When's the last time you've done this or this? And you have to approach it gently so that you don't come across as anything shame based. Like, you need to go to the doctor. Like, I can tell you, if you start a sentence with you need to, like, that's not going to go very well.
No.
But I would just say, like, check in with someone you care about. And it doesn't have to be everybody check in. You can even say, hey, I just went to the doctor and I just got my checkup, and I talked about my self exams and getting screened. I was thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. And have you been to your doctor also? Because, it may be a good idea for you to get checked out as well. Something along those lines. Whatever language you use with your loved ones, that should work.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're quite blessed in our church, that the fact that we are very up on prayer for everything, hands-on prayer. There's the son of one of our elders who's had several brain tumors through his life, and he had the last one a few years ago, and the whole church went to his house, surrounded the house, and just prayed into the house. You know, I know some of a lot of non-Christians are watching this, and you know, you won't understand, but I think that prayer is a very important thing.
Absolutely.
Even if you're not a Christian, getting into prayer teaches you so many things. It teaches you to hand problems over, and then you learn things like this too shall pass. You know, I use the saying surrender to win a lot. And people think, you know, sometimes I'll put a little white flag up on my Facebook, or, you know, I've got this picture of a kitty with a white flag. And I think people get the wrong end of the stick and think that surrendering is bad, when actually, you know, if you look at it from a military point of view, you know, when the threat to the life of your unit is greater than anything else, then you have to retreat. You know, and retreat is part of surrender. You know, we surrender to step back and take stock of the things that are happening in our lives. I've not been the greatest one in my life for dealing with trauma. It's led me into many, many different battles. Addiction is one of them. But the thing I've learned over the past 8 years is that if we surrender our will and our lives over to the care of God, as we understand him, things get better. I don't know who said it, but you know, they said, when I pray, coincidences happen. You know, people are quick to put things down to coincidences, and they said, when I don't, coincidence may still happen. So I think prayer is a very, at least for me, is a very prevalent thing in my life. It's a big part of my armory against illness and against things that we come up against. And cancer, like I say, is the bastard that nobody wants. And nobody wants to talk about it. I think people find embarrassment in it. I think that there are people that are going to see this video and automatically want to switch off. I think there are people going to watch this video and feel very uncomfortable. Good. Yeah, good. Because these things need to be talked about. You know, it's not just a British thing not to talk about things. You know, that's one of the toxic things about being British. You know, people say, oh, you don't talk about things, you keep it locked in. And I think that there are a lot of people that do that. And we need to be fighting against that. People need, if we do not talk about the taboo subjects, if we do not talk about the subjects that are uncomfortable for other people to listen to, who's going to? If you don't talk about your story, if you don't talk about what you've learned, and if you don't teach about what you've learned, who else is going to? If you didn't design that app that could have been done years ago by a governmental body, who is going to do it? And I think that we need to be braver. We need to be braver in the things that we speak about. We need to be braver in the things that we listen to. We need to be braver in the things that we step into. And we need to make those steps into uncomfortability. It's not easy. You know, no one wants, a lot of people don't want to listen about this, that, and the other. I do, because there's an education. But I also want to educate, and I want other people to listen. Because if you don't listen, you're never going to learn. And then these things are going to come up on you. These things are going to happen to you. They're going to happen to your family. You're going to be ill-equipped to be able to deal with it. And I'm not always comfortable speaking. I'm not the most comfortable natural speaker. I started this venture in lockdown, 2020, because I wanted to look at my mental health, and I had people who had similar stories to me. I got a friend who's a hostage and barricade negotiator. He says, interview me, and that's how this was born. And then people started coming on and talking about uncomfortable things, and people started switching in saying, oh, that's brilliant, what you're talking about. But then people say, they start switching off, and then you get trolls, and you get people that are like negative and throw negativity into it. And it's difficult. And if we are going to step out into the world, and if we are going to open ourselves up to this, we need to learn resilience.
Yes.
And that's the thing that one of the big things that's come across in your story and in the way that you speak, resilience. You've had to fight your way through and makeshift your own personal your own personal fight. And I think that it's more than commendable. So yeah, do you have a website that we can also put up there as well?
Yeah, it's www.feelforyourlife.com. Part of when I came up with that name is I was in the shower one night and I was praying, asking God to basically use me through my journey. And I'm literally watching. So the shower is where I often did my self-breast exams, feel. And then my hair, I was washing, well, not really washing my hair, but shaking through my hair that was falling out of my scalp and going down the drain, literally watching my life go down the drain. Feel for your life is kind of what came to me in that moment. So all of the social handles, Instagram, Facebook, everything, Feel for Your Life is all my social handles. They were available. The Feel for Your Life URL, no one had it. So I'm like, this is a name. This is it. So yeah, feelforyourlife.com.
Brilliant. We'll also add that to the description. This interview will be forever available on Facebook, but it will also be available on YouTube, the Accidental Journalist YouTube, and also on my website, which is jwgreg.wordpress.com. And I always link every video that we do, and also it'll be available on Anchor and Spotify for your personal audio flavor. With that, I think I'm I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I want to thank you for your courage, and I want to thank you for taking on the mission and coming on and educating, especially this old English fella.
Well, Thank you so much for having me and giving me a place to share my story. And even if it is uncomfortable for people, I know it's going to stick with them and maybe make them feel a certain way and encourage them as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jess. Guys, as always, I want to thank you for tuning in, listening and sticking about. Please share as usual. I don't often do this, but my books are out there at the minute for sale. My personal journey, my personal fight, and the reasons why I do this. And this is the closest thing to my heart. 40.3 million people in the world are being trafficked at this very moment. There's a child in the British special school system in the 1980s. I went through the abuse, which is why I believe that these stories need telling. For many years, I hid my pain in drugs and violence. And now I show my pain and other people's pain to educate. This is not an easy book. I've been trolled for it. I've had people buy it and tell me that it's a great sentiment, but they can't read it because it's uncomfortable to read. It's available from me. It's available from Amazon. And for the next month, I donate £1 for every paperback sale that I get. But for the next month, I will donate part of the profits to a cancer charity. Because it's important. In fact, I'll do it for both books. I'll link them in the description as well. I'm going to say goodbye, guys. Cheers. And I shall be back, I believe, next Monday with more uncomfortability. But there we go. Thanks, guys. And I shall see you very soon. Cheers.